Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. This is a preview video for Anthony Joshua vs Francis Ngannou, which takes place this weekend in Saudi Arabia, 8th of March as part of Riyadh season. The event dubbed Knockout Chaos, with Joshua and Ngannou the main event. Also a couple of other good heavyweight fights on the card: Joseph Parker, Zhang Jilei, and Justis Huni vs Kevin Lerena. But to the matter at hand, you've got Francis Ngannou, Joshua, main event. And there's a lot of interest in this because of what Ngannou did to Tyson Fury in their fight in 2023. Ngannou obviously famously dropping Tyson Fury, but ultimately Fury goes on to win the fight. He ends up picking up a lot of those later rounds, boxing smart and safe, and taking a decision. Some people, though, didn't like that decision, thought Ngannou won. So there is an expectation from some boxing fans and some combat fans more generally that Ngannou will double up here and give Joshua a good fight. And had you have said a year ago, if Joshua was to face Francis Ngannou, what would I think? I would think that Joshua would win relatively comfortably. But obviously what happened in 2023 with Fury sitting on the seat of his pants on the canvas gives us some pause for thought. But the thing is, though, Francis Ngannou won't be able to just do what he did in that fight, because Joshua is likely to approach this fight a little bit differently to Tyson Fury. Simply put, Tyson Fury was forcing the action, trying to make things happen, as he wasn't really starting to make a dent into Ngannou, and also Ngannou was sitting back being the counterpuncher, making Fury, effectively press the fight. That opened the opportunity for Ngannou to land the hook that dropped Fury. I don't think Joshua is going to do anything like that, and we also have to sort of say Tyson Fury didn't know what to expect for the most part. Yeah, sure, Francis Ngannou from UFC, big puncher, etc. We all knew that, but in the boxing context, we didn't know what to expect from Francis Ngannou. Was he going to press the action and gas out and be taken out, or get a knockout? How was he going to fight? Obviously he'd been preparing to go all the rounds, and if he had to, and ultimately he did. But it was a pretty low volume affair, and I think you can argue Ngannou didn't pounce when he had the opportunity after he knocked Fury down, and also to say that he let a lot of those latter rounds, very low volume rounds, go. Either he was tiring, or because Fury was boxing with a safety first strategy, Ngannou really wasn't able to sort of capitalize, and he didn't create too many opportunities. And that is something I believe he's going to have to do more of in this fight with Anthony Joshua, because if he doesn't, I think Joshua will box a pretty safety first sort of fight, and then he will canter to a decision. And what we've seen from Anthony Joshua in recent years, especially obviously since being stopped by Andy Ruiz Jr., is a different style of fighter. He's become, instead of that, mid-range big puncher looking to take guys out and put the hurt on, he has become more discerning, become more of a boxer, more safety first. And the fact that he's linked up with Ben Davidson is going to be another factor where Ben Davidson is just going to sharpen the tools that Joshua have. We already saw some influences of it in that fight against Otto Wallin. That was their first link up. The pairing will only get stronger. And with the sort of way Joshua's been heading, with the way that he likes, and, forget about all the talk about looking to knock someone out and, all the sort of normal pre-fight hype and that sort of stuff. Even calling it knockout chaos doesn't mean that this show is going to, at the top of the bill, deliver a knockout. Ultimately, tens of millions of dollars are riding on this for the winner. The winner continues on in Riyadh season to make those top-of-the-bill paydays. I think even in a loss, if it's close, if there's not a lot of action, or the loser accredits himself well, they'll still be in the mix for huge paydays as part of Riyadh season. Maybe they'll just dip down for a fight or two before pumping back up to the top of the bill. But Joshua with Ben Davidson is a combination that I see, being they've got the rounds that Fury did with Ngannou in the bank. They've been able to observe what happened there, and they know roughly, I think, what to expect. That Francis Ngannou is going to be looking for a lot of counter-shot opportunities. But I think Joshua will be really looking to starve him of that. He's going to be boxing smart. He's going to be using that jab judiciously. I don't think he's going to be sort of coming in, all reckless, trying to sort of stop Francis Ngannou. He's going to be smart about it. So, like I said before, Ngannou's going to have to show us something a little bit different. He may actually have to press the fight a little bit more than he did against Fury. Fury, obviously, a lot of people have sort of speculated, didn't take that fight as seriously as maybe he should have. That has been put down as a reason. Regardless of that, he didn't put in a great performance, found himself on the canvas, but Joshua obviously has the benefit of seeing what happened and how Francis Ngannou fights. So he will have his eyes wide open. He already knows Francis Ngannou, either from the UFC, film that he can watch, or the rounds against Fury. Probably, for the most part, the sort of strategy he's going to look to employ. And they will come up with a game plan to thwart that. So Joshua, the taller, longer man, he is going to, I think, box at range. He will be moving. We've seen him in a lot of 12-rounders more recently in his career. And he can do the 12 rounds, especially if the pace, if Ngannou's not forcing the action, if the pace is low, Joshua can do it relatively comfortable. And one of the things I think people sleep on these days is Joshua is a lot better technically than he used to be. So I think he can put on a performance where actually he does the basics, the fundamentals well. He's, the safety first strategy, banking rounds off the jab, working the odd shot to the body, not taking too many risks and not hanging that chin out there. It's not to say that there won't be moments where he could obviously get tagged by Ngannou, and that's where we're really going to see where the chin is at. If Ngannou lands flush, obviously that could be a big problem for Joshua, but he will be looking to limit those opportunities. And this is why Ngannou needs to make something happen more so than he did in the Fury fight, because if he is passive, as he was in a lot of those latter rounds, which he let slip away against Fury, Joshua will sweep them up and ultimately will take a decision. He doesn't, at the end of the day, winning is winning. This is a big fight, and the fact that Ngannou dropped Fury adds a lot more credibility to this fight, more so than would have been there before the Fury fight occurred. So I know there have been a few people saying, why are people giving this the time of day? Well, the fact Tyson Fury fought him and what happened kind of legitimized Francis Ngannou. And the WBC also then deigned to rank him despite Ngannou losing. I mean, make that make sense. And I think it's clear he's got some good skills, but I think at the moment, Francis Ngannou still a work in project, and the fact he's advancing in years, new to boxing, he's going to keep things simple and try to make it what works for him work. I don't think he's going to go too crazy, but this is why I sort of say he can't sort of rest on his laurels and just expect what he did against Fury to also rest against Joshua, because Joshua will see it coming. He knows what's coming now, or at least to a decent extent. So, it's going to be really interesting to see the strategy from Ngannou, because if it's exactly the same, well, Joshua will be fully prepared for it. Will Francis Ngannou, perhaps later in the fight, if it, is, a tactical affair, low volume with points being picked up and, only a few punches in each round, etc., will Francis Ngannou go for broke, which he didn't really do so much against Fury? It'd be interesting. Clearly we know he's got knockout power and he can take Joshua out if he lands clean, but you got to set it up. What do you make of this fight? Who do you think is going to win? And is this going to be more of a tactical affair that ends up catching fire, or someone gets hurt and, ends up surviving? Or will it be, maybe a bit more circumspect? Are we going to get the so-called knockout chaos? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.